The morning sun cast long shadows across Kepler Station's scrapyard as Captain Lee Minho walked between rows of broken starships. His boots clanked against the metal walkway that stretched over hundreds of vessels waiting for their final fate. Some were alien designs he had never seen before. Others were human ships from wars that ended decades ago. At the end of the furthest row sat his new assignment. The UTS Resilience looked nothing like the sleek modern destroyers that patrolled the galaxy today. Her hull was thick and angular, built from heavy steel plates that showed their age in rust stains and dents. 200 years old and still intact, she was a monument to an era when humans built things to last forever. Minho stopped at the base of the boarding ramp and looked up at the ship that would be his final command. The Galactic Council had made their message clear when they gave him this assignment. He was here to oversee the dismantling of humanity's past, piece by piece, until nothing remained but scrap metal and memories. His career in the Council Navy had ended 3 months ago. One too many questions about why humans always seem to get the surrender orders first. One too many suggestions that maybe fighting back was better than running away. The Council did not appreciate officers who rocked the boat, especially human officers who thought they knew better than their alien superiors. Now he was here, babysitting a dead ship while waiting for the demolition crews to arrive next week. The boarding ramp groaned under his weight as he climbed toward the main airlock. The sound echoed through the empty scrapyard like a funeral bell, or so he thought it was empty. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, and Minho stepped into the main corridor of the Resilience. Emergency lighting cast everything in a dim, red glow, but he could see that someone had been keeping the ship clean. The floors were swept, the walls were free of dust, and he could hear the steady hum of life support systems running at full power. "Captain on deck." The voice came from behind him, sharp and military crisp. Minho turned to see a woman in her 30s wearing a maintenance jumpsuit with chief engineer stripes on the sleeves. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her hands were stained with engine grease. She stood at perfect attention despite the informal clothes. "Chief Engineer Park Jisoo, sir," she said. "Permission to welcome you aboard the Resilience." "Granted," Minho replied, still confused about why anyone was here at all. "I thought this ship was supposed to be empty." "Well, sir, that depends on how you look at it," Jisoo said with a slight smile. "Officially, we were all reassigned months ago. Unofficially, some of us decided we had nowhere better to be." She led him through the corridors toward the bridge, and Minho began to hear other sounds. Voices from the crew quarters, the ping of active sensor arrays, the subtle vibration of engines on standby power. This ship was not just occupied, it was alive and ready for action. "How many of you are there?" he asked. 12 of us decided to stay, sir. The Council said they would find us new postings, but every assignment they offered was either a desk job or a transport run to some peaceful sector where nothing ever happens. We figured we would rather go down with our ship than fade away on some cargo hauler." They entered the bridge, and Minho saw what she meant. The command center was spotless and fully operational. A young man at the weapons console turned to face them and snapped to attention. "Weapons Officer Kim Do-hyun, sir," he said. "All defensive systems are green and ready." At the communication station, a woman with sergeant stripes looked up from her displays. "Communications Specialist Choi Nari, sir. I have been monitoring all fleet channels and keeping our systems updated with the latest protocols." More crew members appeared from other stations around the bridge. Medical Officer Dr. Song Hana emerged from the small medical bay adjacent to the command center. Pilot Nam Junho came up from the engine room where he had been running diagnostics. Each one introduced themselves with pride and professionalism that Minho had not seen in years. "Why?" he asked them all. "Why stay with a ship that everyone says is worthless?" Chief Jisoo stepped forward to answer. "Sir, this ship has been fighting for humanity for 2 centuries. She has been in more battles than any vessel in the current fleet. She has brought crews home from impossible situations and never once failed in her duty. The Council can call her obsolete all they want, but we know what she really is." "And what is that?" Minho asked. "She is the best ship humanity ever built, sir. They just forgot how to appreciate her. Minho walked to the captain's chair and ran his hand along the worn armrest. The previous captain had sat here during the Centauri campaign. Before that, another captain had commanded from this same spot, during the defense of New Tokyo. The ship had history that the modern fleet could never match. The demolition crews arrive next week, he told them. The council wants her broken down for scrap metal. They say the resources can be better used building new ships. With respect, sir, Do-hyun said from the weapons station, the new ships are garbage. They are fast and they look pretty, but they break down if you breathe on them wrong. This old girl has systems that were built to keep working no matter what happens. The modern ships are designed by committee, Nari added from communications. Every alien species in the council gets to add their own requirements and modifications. By the time they are finished, nothing works the way it should. Dr. Song spoke up from where she leaned against the medical bay door. The new ships have automated medical systems that cannot handle human physiology properly. This ship has medical equipment that was built specifically for human crews. Equipment that actually works when people are bleeding. Minho looked around the bridge at these 12 people who had chosen to stay with their ship rather than accept reassignment to newer vessels. They were not famous heroes or elite officers. They were just regular crew members who believed in something that the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. What do you propose we do about it? He asked. Jisoo smiled. Sir, we have been thinking about that for months. This ship still has a few tricks that nobody remembers. We have been working on some modifications using salvaged parts from other ships in the yard. Nothing illegal, just improvements that take advantage of what makes human engineering special, such as the power systems on this ship were built with massive redundancy, she explained. Modern ships use just enough power generation to meet their normal needs, but the Resilience can produce 3 times more power than she officially needs. We have been experimenting with ways to use that extra capacity. Nam Junho stepped forward from his position near the engine room entrance. The modern ships are faster in a straight line, sir, but they cannot change direction quickly because their engines are optimized for efficiency. Our engines were built for combat maneuvering. We can dance around anything they have built in the last 50 years. The weapon systems are the same way, Do-hyun added. Modern ships have fancy targeting, computers that do all the thinking for you, but our weapons were designed to be aimed by human instinct and experience. In a real fight, human reflexes beat computer calculations every time. Minho felt something he had not experienced in months. Hope. These people were not just maintaining an old ship. They were keeping alive the spirit of human independence that the Council had been trying to kill for years. Show me, he said. For the next several hours, the crew took him through every system on the ship. They showed him the modifications they had made in secret, the improvements that took advantage of human engineering principles that the galaxy had forgotten. They demonstrated capabilities that did not exist on paper, but worked perfectly in practice. By the time they finished, Minho understood why these 12 people had chosen to stay. The Resilience was not just a ship. She was a symbol of what humans could accomplish when they stopped trying to please everyone else and focused on what they did best. The demolition crews will be here in 1 week, he told them as they gathered, on the bridge for the evening watch change. Yes, sir, Jisoo replied. What are your orders? Minho looked out the main viewport at the other ships in the scrapyard. Hundreds of vessels from dozens of species, all waiting to be torn apart and forgotten. But not this one. Not if he had anything to say about it. Chief Jisoo, how long would it take to get this ship ready for active duty? She is ready now, sir. We never stopped maintaining her as if we might get called up tomorrow. Good. Then, I suggest we find a way to remind the galaxy what human ships can really do. The crew exchanged glances around the bridge, and Minho could see the spark of excitement in their eyes. They had been waiting for someone to give them permission to prove what they already knew. The Resilience was far from finished. She was just getting started. 3 months had passed since Captain Minho took command of the Resilience. The demolition crews had come and gone after being told the ship was needed for special assignment duties. It was a small lie that bought them time to prove their worth. The crew had spent every day working on their secret modifications. Chief Engineer Jisoo had created a power routing system that could push their weapons and shields beyond what the original designers thought possible. She called it controlled overload, but it was really controlled madness that somehow worked perfectly. Pilot Nam Junho had been practicing maneuvers that would tear apart modern ships. The Resilience was built like a fortress, with structural supports that could handle stress loads no current vessel could match. What looked like old-fashioned heavy construction was actually the key to impossible combat moves. Weapons Officer Do-hyun had been studying battle recordings from the last 50 years looking for patterns in how modern ships fought. He discovered something interesting. Every species in the galaxy used similar tactics because they all learned from the same Galactic Council military academies. They were predictable in ways that human creativity could exploit. The bridge hummed with quiet activity as the morning watch began their duties. Communications Officer Nari was monitoring fleet channels as usual when she suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, I am picking up a distress signal from the neutral zone," she reported. "Civilian transport under attack by pirates. They are requesting immediate assistance." Minho moved to stand behind her station. "How far?" 2 hours at maximum. Speed, sir. But Captain, we are not supposed to leave the scrapyard without authorization. Our orders are to remain here until further notice." The captain looked at the tactical display showing the location of the attack. The neutral zone was a lawless area between human and alien territories where the Council had no jurisdiction. Ships that went there did so at their own risk, and rescue operations were generally considered too dangerous to attempt. "What kind of transport?" he asked. "Civilian passenger liner, sir. The Starlight Dream. They report 300 souls on board, including families with children. The pirates have disabled their engines and are demanding they surrender their cargo and passengers." Dr. Song looked up from her medical station. "Sir, if those pirates take the passengers, most of them will never be seen again. The slave markets in the outer systems pay well for human workers." Minho felt the familiar anger that had gotten him in trouble with the Council before. 300 innocent people were about to become victims while the official fleet was tied up in committee meetings deciding whether a rescue was cost-effective. "Chief Jisoo, how long to bring engines to full power?" "Already done, sir. I have been keeping us at hot standby since we started the modifications. We can be moving in 30 seconds. Mr. Junho, plot a course for the distress signal location. Maximum speed." "Yes, sir. Course laid in and ready." Minho knew he was about to end his career permanently. Taking an unauthorized ship on an unauthorized mission to an unauthorized location was the kind of thing that resulted in court-martial and prison time. But 300 lives were worth more than his career. "All hands, this is the captain. We have received a distress call from civilians under attack by pirates. I know we are not supposed to be doing this, but I am not going to let innocent people die while we wait for permission. Anyone who wants to leave this ship before we depart has my permission to do so with no questions asked." He waited for a response. The silence stretched for almost a minute. Finally, Chief Jisoo spoke up from her engineering station. "Sir, with respect, where exactly would we go? This ship is our home and these people are our family. If you are going to help those civilians, then we are going with you." Similar responses came from every station on the bridge. No one was leaving. "Very well, Mr. Junho, take us out. Maximum speed to the neutral zone." The Resilience moved away from Kepler Station with the smooth acceleration of a ship built for war. Her engines produced a steady thrumming sound that seemed to sing of coming battle. As they cleared the station traffic control zone, Minho realized he felt more alive than he had in years. 2 hours later, they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of a debris field where the attack was taking place. The passenger liner Starlight Dream hung dead in space with 3 pirate corvettes circling like vultures. The pirates had modern ships with sleek hulls and advanced weapon systems. "Sir, the pirates are hailing us," Nari reported. "They want to know what we are doing here." "Put them on screen." The main viewer showed a scarred alien face with cold eyes and sharp teeth. "Unknown vessel, you are interfering in a lawful salvage operation. Depart immediately or be destroyed. This is Captain Minho of the UTS Resilience. You have 30 seconds to release the civilian transport and withdraw from this area." The pirate leader laughed. "Your ship is 200 years old, human. Our vessels are armed with modern weapons that will cut through your ancient hull like paper. Leave now and we will let you live." 20 seconds, Minho replied calmly. "Sir," Do-hyun said from the weapon station, I am reading their weapons loadout. Standard pirate configuration with rapid-fire plasma cannons and guided missiles. Fast. Ships but lightly armored. Can we take them? Sir, in normal circumstances they would have every advantage. But we are not normal circumstances. The pirate ships began moving toward the Resilience in a standard attack formation. They spread out to attack from multiple angles while maintaining their speed advantage. It was a textbook maneuver that worked against every ship design in the current galaxy. Mr. Junho, evasive maneuvers. Show them what this old girl can do. Yes, sir. Hang on, everyone. The Resilience suddenly twisted to starboard in a move that should have been impossible for a ship her size. The pirates fired at where she had been, but their plasma bolts passed harmlessly through empty space. Before they could adjust their aim, she rolled completely over and dove toward the largest pirate vessel. The pirate captain appeared on screen again, looking confused. What kind of ship is that? The kind you should have run away from, Minho replied. Mr. Do-hyun, target their engines. Let us give them a chance to leave. Weapons locked and ready, sir. The Resilience opened fire with her main batteries. The weapons were old-fashioned projectile cannons that fired solid slugs instead of energy beams. The pirates had shields designed to deflect modern weapons, but they were useless against chunks of dense metal traveling at tremendous speed. The first salvo crippled the lead pirate ship and sent it spinning out of control. The second ship tried to return fire, but Yunho had already moved the Resilience into a position where their weapons could not track her properly. Sir, the second ship is trying to ram us, Nari reported. Let them come, Minho said. Chief Jisoo, give me everything the engines have got. Already done, sir. We are running at 150% of rated power. The pirate ship accelerated toward them in a desperate attempt to cause damage through collision. At the last moment, Junho rolled the Resilience out of the way, and Do-hyun fired a full spread into the pirate's exposed belly. The enemy ship broke apart in a shower of sparks and debris. The third pirate vessel was already turning to run when Minho hailed them. This is your only warning. Tell your friends that the neutral zone is under new management. The surviving pirates jumped to hyperspace without another word. Mr. Nari, hail the passenger liner. The screen showed a human captain with tears in his eyes. Resilience, this is Captain Kim of the Starlight Dream. I do not know how to thank you. We thought we were all going to die. Just doing our job. Captain Kim, do you need medical assistance or repairs? Negative, Resilience. Our engines are coming back online now. But may I ask what ship this is? I have never seen anything move like that in combat. Minho smiled. This is the UTS Resilience, Captain. We are humanity's memory of how to fight. After the passenger liner jumped safely to hyperspace, the crew of the Resilience gathered on the bridge to assess their first real battle. They had faced 3 modern warships and won without taking a single hit. Sir, Do-hyun said, I have been analyzing the engagement. The pirates made several critical errors in their tactics. They assumed we would behave like a modern ship with predictable capabilities. When we did not match their expectations, their entire strategy fell apart. The galaxy has forgotten how humans fight, Jisoo added. They think our old ships are obsolete because they do not understand that different does not mean inferior. Over the following days, word of the battle began to spread through the underground networks that connected the independent traders and frontier colonists. The story grew with each telling, but the core remained the same. An ancient human warship had appeared out of nowhere and destroyed 3 pirate vessels in a matter of minutes. The Galactic Council dismissed the reports as exaggerated rumors. Ancient ships did not win battles against modern vessels. It was simply not possible according to their calculations and simulations. But in the dark corners of space where real people lived and died, they began to whisper about the ghost ship that had returned to protect the innocent. The ship that the Council had written off as worthless, but still carried the fighting spirit of humanity in her steel bones. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Resilience. The emergency alert came at 0400 hours, jolting Captain Minho from the first peaceful sleep he had enjoyed in weeks. The shrill alarm echoed through the corridors of the Resilience as crew members rushed to their battle stations. Something big was happening. and the Galactic Council was finally ready to acknowledge that the old ship existed. "Captain to the bridge," came Nari's voice over the intercom. "Priority 1 message from Council Command." Minho pulled on his uniform and made his way to the bridge where his crew was already assembled at their stations. The main screen showed the official seal of the Galactic Council, which meant this was not a routine communication. "Put it through," he ordered. Admiral Thex appeared on screen, his blue skin and 4 arms marking him as a member of the Altarian species that dominated the Council military. His expression was grim as he began speaking without pleasantries. "Captain Minho, the Vorthan Empire has launched simultaneous attacks on 3 Outer Rim colonies. New Shanghai, Port Darwin, and Kepler 7 are all under assault by full battle groups. Our main fleet is spread across the galaxy and cannot respond in time to prevent massive civilian casualties." Minho felt his stomach tighten. The Vorthons were humanity's oldest enemies, a warrior race that had been fighting humans for over a century. They were ruthless, efficient, and never showed mercy to civilian populations. "What are my orders, Admiral?" "You are to proceed immediately to the Omega Junction system. Intelligence reports indicate the Vorthons plan to use it as a staging area for deeper strikes into Council territory. Your mission is to hold the system for 48 hours while civilian evacuations are completed." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what those orders really meant. The Omega Junction was a strategic crossroads with 3 major hyperspace routes passing through it. It was also completely indefensible against a serious attack. "Sir, what support will we have?" Doyen asked from the weapons station. Admiral Thex looked uncomfortable. "The Resilience will be operating independently. All other available ships are committed to protecting the primary colonies." "How many Vorthon ships are we expected to face?" Minho pressed. "Intelligence estimates suggest a raiding force of perhaps 5 or 6 vessels. Nothing you cannot handle given your recent performance." "Against the pirates." The transmission ended, leaving the crew staring at each other in stunned silence. Even Chief Jisoo, who never seemed worried about anything, looked concerned. "Sir," Nam Junho said quietly, "I have been to Omega Junction before. There are 50,000 civilians in the mining stations and orbital platforms. If the Vorthons take the system, those people will not survive." Dr. Song stepped forward from her medical station. "Captain, with respect, that did not sound like intelligence estimates. That sounded like someone making a guess and hoping for the best." Minho had the same feeling. The Council was sending them on what appeared to be a suicide mission, probably, hoping to get rid of the troublesome crew that had been ignoring orders and winning battles they were not supposed to fight. "Mr. Nari, what is our travel time to Omega Junction?" 18 hours at maximum speed, sir. Then we leave immediately. All hands prepare for combat operations." The journey through hyperspace gave them time to prepare, but no amount of preparation could change the basic mathematics of their situation. The Resilience was 1 ship facing an unknown number of enemies in a system with no natural defenses and thousands of civilians to protect. As they approached the Omega Junction system, Nari began picking up communications from the evacuation efforts already underway. Civilian transports were loading refugees as quickly as possible, but the process was chaotic and slow. "Sir, I am reading multiple hyperspace signatures approaching from the Vorthan border," she reported. 15 ships total, including 2 dreadnoughts. 15 ships. Not the 5 or 6 that intelligence had predicted. 2 dreadnoughts meant this was not a raiding force but a full battle group designed to crush any resistance and claim the system permanently. "Well," Do-hyun said with grim humor, "at least we know the Council intelligence services are as useless as ever." "Orders, sir?" Jisoo asked from her engineering station. Minho looked around the bridge at the 11 people who had chosen to follow him into this impossible situation. They could run. No one would blame them for retreating in the face of such overwhelming odds. The smart thing to do would be to jump back to hyperspace and report that the system was lost. But 50,000 civilians were counting on them. Families with children who had nowhere else to go. Workers who had spent their lives building something in the frontier and now faced death or slavery at Vorthan hands. "We hold the line," he said simply. "Chief Jisoo, give me everything the ship has. Mr. Do-hyun, Prepare all weapon systems for extended combat. Mr. Junho, find us a position where we can do the most damage before they overwhelm us. Yes, sir, came the chorus from around the bridge. The Vorthan battle group dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their ships arranged like spears aimed at the heart of the system. The two dreadnoughts were massive vessels covered in weapon batteries and thick armor plating. The 13 smaller ships were still larger and more heavily armed than the Resilience. Incoming transmission from the Vorthan flagship, Nari reported. Put it on screen. The Vorthan commander appeared on the main viewer. His species looked like humans, except for the bone ridges that covered their skulls and the red eyes that seemed to glow with inner fire. His uniform was black with silver trim that indicated high rank. I am War Leader Corvin of the Imperial Fleet, he announced. This system now belongs to the Vorthan Empire. All civilian vessels will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Military vessels will withdraw or share the same fate. Minho stood up from the captain's chair. This is Captain Minho of the UTS Resilience. This system is under the protection of the Galactic Council. You will withdraw your forces immediately. Corvin laughed, a harsh sound that carried no humor. One ancient human ship against 15 modern warships. Do you take me for a fool, Captain? I take you for someone who has never fought humans before, Minho replied. You might want to reconsider your position. Humans are weak creatures who surrender at the first sign of real opposition. Your own council proves this by sending only one ship to defend an entire system. You have 1 hour to withdraw before we begin destroying the civilian stations. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Sir, Dr. Song said, there are medical stations on 3 of the orbital platforms. I am reading over 2,000 patients who cannot be moved safely. The main evacuation will take at least 36 hours to complete, Nari added. The civilian transports are overloaded and running at maximum capacity. Minho studied the tactical display showing the positions of the Vorthan ships and the civilian stations scattered throughout the system. The enemy had enough firepower to destroy everything in the system 10 times over. The Resilience had enough firepower to maybe disable 2 or 3 ships before being overwhelmed. Chief Jisu, how long can we maintain combat operations at full power? Depends on how hard they hit us, sir. If we can avoid taking major damage to the power systems, maybe 6 hours of continuous fighting. If they breach the main reactor compartment, we will have maybe 30 minutes. Mr. Do Hyun, what are our tactical options? Limited, sir. In open space, they can surround us and pound us to scrap with long-range weapons. Our only chance is to use the asteroid field near the mining stations for cover and try to force them into close-range combat where our maneuverability advantage might help. Can we hold them for 48 hours? Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Sir, honestly, I do not think we can hold them for 48 minutes once they decide to attack seriously. Minho nodded. He had expected that answer. The mathematics were simple and brutal. One ship could not defeat 15 ships, no matter how well trained the crew or how clever their tactics. But mathematics did not account for human stubbornness. Numbers on a screen could not measure the determination of people who refused to abandon innocent civilians to die. Cold calculations could not predict what happened when someone had nothing left to lose except their honor. Then we will have to change the rules of mathematics, he said. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to face odds that no reasonable person would accept. The enemy has 15 ships and we have 1. They have overwhelming firepower and we have human ingenuity. They have the advantage in every category except the one that matters most. He paused, looking around the bridge at the faces of his crew. They think they are fighting a ship. But they are wrong. They are fighting an idea. The idea that some things are worth dying for. The idea that innocent people deserve protection. The idea that humans do not abandon each other when things get difficult. Battle stations, everyone. Let us show the Vorthans what happens when they threaten our people. The Resilience moved deeper into the Omega Junction system, her engines singing a war song that had not been heard in the galaxy for 50 years. Behind her, 15 enemy warships began their approach, confident in their overwhelming advantage. Neither side realized they were about to make history. The first Vorthon attack came exactly 1 hour after their ultimatum expired. War leader Corvin sent 3 destroyers ahead of his main force to test the defenses of the ancient human ship. It was a standard tactic designed to probe for weaknesses. Before committing his heavy warships to battle, Captain Minho watched the tactical display as the enemy vessels approached. "Mr. Junho, take us into the asteroid field. Use the mining platforms for cover." "Yes, sir, moving to Grid 7 Alpha." The Resilience slipped between the massive rocks that surrounded the mining stations, like a shark moving through coral reefs. The asteroids were huge chunks of metal-rich stone that the miners had been harvesting for decades. Some were as large as city blocks, providing perfect cover for a ship that knew how to use them. "Sir, the Vorthon ships are maintaining long range and trying to get missile locks," Do-hyun reported from weapons. "They do not want to come into the asteroid field." "Then we will have to convince them," Minho replied. "Target the lead destroyer. Full power to forward guns." "Weapons charged and ready, sir." The Resilience emerged from behind a spinning asteroid and fired her main batteries at the closest Vorthon ship. The ancient projectile cannon sent solid rounds racing across space at tremendous speed. The enemy shields deflected most of the impact, but the kinetic force was still enough to rock the destroyer and damage their sensor arrays. "Direct hit on target 1, Do-hyun announced. "Their shields are down to 60%. Now disappear, before they can return fire," Minho ordered. Junho rolled the ship behind another asteroid just as the Vorthon destroyers launched a salvo of guided missiles. The weapons streaked toward where the Resilience had been, but found only empty space and spinning rock. "Sir, they are getting frustrated," Nari reported from communications. "I am intercepting their tactical channels. They cannot understand how we keep avoiding their targeting systems. That is because they are fighting like computers instead of thinking like hunters," Do-hyun said with satisfaction. "Their ships rely on automated systems that predict where targets will be based on standard movement patterns. But we are not moving in standard patterns." For the next hour, the Resilience played a deadly game of hide-and-seek among the asteroids. She would appear suddenly from behind cover, fire a devastating salvo at one of the Vorthon ships, then vanish again before they could respond effectively. Each attack damaged the enemy vessels and forced them to retreat for repairs, but the game could not last forever. "Captain, the main Vorthon fleet is moving," Nari announced. "All 15 ships are advancing into the asteroid field. They are planning to flush us out with overwhelming firepower." Minho studied the tactical display. The enemy had realized that their advanced weapons and shields meant nothing if they could not hit their target. Now, they were bringing everything. They had to bear in a coordinated assault that would leave nowhere to hide. "Chief Jisoo, how are our power levels?" "Still at 100%, sir. The enemy has not managed to hit us with anything more than glancing blows. But we have been running the weapons at overcharge for an hour. I do not know how much longer the systems can handle that kind of stress." "Mr. Do-hyun, damage assessment. On the enemy? We have disabled 4 of their smaller ships and forced 3 others to withdraw for repairs. But the 2 dreadnoughts are still at full strength, and they are the real threat." The Vorthon fleet spread out through the asteroid field like a net closing around its prey. Their ships moved in perfect coordination, using overlapping fields of fire to eliminate any hiding places. It was a textbook maneuver that had worked against every enemy they had ever faced. "Sir, they are herding us toward the main mining platform," Junho reported. "If we stay on this course, we will be trapped against the station with no room to maneuver." Minho realized that Corvin was smarter than he had given him credit for. The Vorthon commander knew that the humans would not abandon the civilian station, so he was using their own protective instincts against them. "New plan," Minho announced. "Instead of running from them, we are going to run at them." "Sir?" several voices asked at once. "They expect us to try to escape. Instead, we are going to charge straight into the middle of their formation and see how well their coordination holds up when we are fighting at knife-fighting range." Dr. Song looked up from her medical station. "Captain, at close range their superior firepower will tear us apart in seconds." "Maybe," Minho admitted. "But at close range their computer targeting systems become useless because we will be moving too fast and too unpredictably for their algorithms to track. And if we can get among them, they will not be able to fire without risking hitting their own ships." It is completely insane, Chief Jisoo said with a grin. I love it. All hands, prepare for close combat, Minho announced over the ship's intercom. We are about to show these Vorthons what humans do when we are backed into a corner. The resilience burst from the asteroid field at maximum acceleration, heading directly toward the center of the Vorthon formation. Every enemy ship immediately targeted her, filling space with energy beams and missile trails. Evasive maneuvers, Minho shouted. Junho threw the ship into a series of impossible turns and rolls that sent gravitational forces crushing against the crew. The old ship's structure groaned under the stress, but her heavy construction held together where a modern vessel would have broken apart. Plasma beams seared past the hull as guided missiles exploded harmlessly in their wake. The Resilience twisted through the enemy fire like a dancer performing a deadly ballet among the stars. We are in among them, Do-hyun reported, firing at targets of opportunity. The ancient ship opened fire with everything she had. Her main guns sent rounds punching through the hulls of Vorthon cruisers, while her secondary batteries raked their smaller escorts. At point-blank range, no shields could stop the kinetic impact of solid projectiles traveling at near light speed. Target destroyed, Nari called out as one of the enemy destroyers broke apart in a ball of flame. Another one is venting atmosphere. But the Resilience was taking damage too. Enemy fire had breached her outer hull in 3 places, and her shields were failing under the concentrated assault. Hull breach on Deck 7, Dr. Song reported. Medical teams responding to casualties. Shields down to 30%, Jisoo announced. We cannot take much more of this. Minho watched the tactical display as the Vorthon formation began to collapse. Their ships were so close together that they were hitting each other with missed shots, and their commanders were shouting contradictory orders over the communication channels. Sir, one of the dreadnoughts is turning to ram us, Junho warned. She is too big to avoid at this range. The massive Vorthon warship filled the main screen as it accelerated toward them like a metallic mountain. Its hull was scarred from battle, but still intact, and its forward rams were designed to crush smaller vessels. Chief, give me every ounce of power the engines have, Minho ordered. Already done, sir, but it will not be enough to outrun a dreadnought. We are not running, Minho said grimly. We are going to hit them first. The Resilience charged toward the approaching dreadnought in a head-on collision course that would destroy both ships. The 2 vessels raced toward each other across the void, neither willing to change course. At the last possible moment, Junho rolled the ship 90 degrees and fired the maneuvering thrusters. The Resilience slipped past the dreadnought's hull with meters to spare, while Do-hyun fired a full spread of projectiles into the enemy ship's exposed engine section. The dreadnought shuddered as her main engines exploded in a chain reaction that sent her spinning out of control. She crashed into one of her own cruisers in a devastating collision that took both ships out of the fight. Sir, the remaining Vorthon ships are withdrawing, Nari reported. They are regrouping at the edge of the system. Minho looked around the bridge at his battered crew. They had somehow survived the impossible and damaged the enemy fleet badly enough to force a temporary retreat. But it was only temporary. Damage report, he requested. Hull breaches on 3 decks, shield generators offline, and we have lost 2 of our main guns, Jisoo summarized. But the engines and power systems are still functional. Casualties? Dr. Song checked her displays. 15 wounded, none critical. We were lucky. How long until the evacuation is complete? 36 hours remaining, sir, Nari answered. Minho nodded grimly. They had bought time with blood and courage, but the respite would not last long. The Vorthons still had 9 ships, including 1 undamaged dreadnought. When they attacked, again, they would not make the same mistakes. Sir, Do-hyun said quietly, I am analyzing their withdrawal pattern. They are not running away. They are moving to surround the entire system so we cannot escape. Let them come, Minho replied. We knew this was a one-way mission when we accepted it. The question is not whether we can survive. The question is how many of them we can take with us. As if summoned by his words, War Leader Corvin's face appeared on the main screen. The Vorthon commander looked furious, his red eyes burning with rage. You fight well for humans, he admitted grudgingly. But this changes nothing. My remaining ships will destroy your vessel and claim this system. Your courage is admirable, but it cannot overcome simple mathematics. Mathematics assume that everyone follow. 6 hours had passed since the last battle, and the crew of the Resilience worked frantically to repair their damaged ship. Chief Engineer Jisoo crawled through twisted metal and sparking circuits, trying to restore power to the shield generators. Dr. Song moved between the wounded, keeping everyone fighting fit despite injuries that would normally require weeks of recovery. Captain Minho stood on the bridge watching the tactical display that showed 9 Vorthon ships forming an attack formation at the edge of the system. They had learned from their earlier defeat and would not make the same mistakes twice. This time they would stay in formation and use their superior firepower to destroy the human ship from long range. Sir, civilian evacuation is 70% complete, Communications Officer Nari reported. The transport captains are pushing their ships beyond safe limits, but they still need 12 more hours to finish loading everyone. 12 hours. The Resilience had maybe 1 hour of combat time left before the Vorthons overwhelmed her defenses. The mathematics were simple and brutal. Chief Jisoo, how are the repairs coming? I've got the shields back to 40% and restored one of the main guns, she replied over the intercom from deep in the ship's hull. But sir, we took too much damage in the last fight. If they hit us with everything they have, we will not last long. Minho had been thinking the same thing. Their only chance was to make their final stand count for something. If they were going to die, they would take as many enemies with them as possible and buy every precious minute for the evacuating civilians. Mr. Do-yoon, what is our weapons status? 3 main guns operational, secondary batteries at 60% capacity, the weapons officer replied. We have enough ammunition for maybe 30 minutes of sustained combat. That will have to be enough, Minho said. All hands prepare for our final engagement. We are going to charge straight into their formation and hit them with everything we have. But before he could give the order to advance, something impossible appeared on the sensor displays. Sir, I am reading multiple hyperspace signatures approaching from the outer system, Nari announced with confusion in her voice. 12 ships dropping out of hyperspace and moving toward our position. Minho felt his heart sink. Reinforcements. For the Vorthons meant the battle was truly hopeless now, but as the new ships came closer, something seemed wrong with that assumption. Sir, those are not Vorthon ships, Nari said with growing excitement. I am reading mixed configurations. Freighters, independent traders, even what looks like a converted passenger liner. The main screen activated to show a familiar face. Captain Kim of the Starlight Dream, the passenger liner they had rescued from pirates months ago. Resilience. This is Captain Kim commanding a volunteer fleet of 37 vessels. We heard you were in trouble and thought you might need some help. More ships kept dropping out of hyperspace. The merchant captain whose cargo ship they had escorted through dangerous space. 3 independent traders whose crews they had saved. From slavers. Even 2 former pirate captains who had abandoned their criminal ways after witnessing what real honor looked like. Sir, I am reading 42 ships total, Nari reported in amazement. They are all ships we have helped over the past few months. The volunteer fleet was a ragtag collection of civilian vessels that had no business in a military engagement. But each captain owed their life or livelihood to the crew of the Resilience, and they had come to pay that debt when it mattered most. This is madness, came the voice of War Leader Corvin over the communication channel. Civilian ships cannot fight military vessels. I will destroy every one of them. You are welcome to try, Captain Minho replied. But you might find that desperate people fight harder than you expect. The volunteer fleet spread out around the Resilience like a protective wall. They had no military weapons or armor, but they had something more valuable. They had the determination of people who refused to watch their protectors die alone. All ships, this is Resilience Actual, Minho broadcast to the volunteer fleet. You do not have to do this. These are not your people to protect. Captain Kim answered for all of them. Sir, with respect, you are wrong. You made them our people when you risked your lives to save strangers. Now we return the favor. The Vorthan fleet advanced toward the mixed formation of military and civilian vessels. War leader Corvin had decided to destroy the entire group and claim the system through overwhelming force. His ships opened fire at maximum range, filling space with energy beams and guided missiles. But something unexpected happened. The civilian ships did not break and run as military doctrine predicted. Instead, they moved to shield the resilience from enemy fire, while the ancient warship coordinated their defense. Mr. Do Yun, target the lead cruiser. All civilian ships. Evasive maneuvers pattern 7. The volunteer fleet scattered like leaves in a storm, each ship moving in unpredictable directions that confused the Vorthan targeting computers. Meanwhile, the resilience emerged from the protective formation and opened fire with her remaining guns. The battle became unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Civilian cargo ships rammed military vessels while passenger liners provided covering fire for the ancient destroyer. Former pirates fought alongside merchant captains in a display of cooperation that should have been impossible. Chief Jisoo pushed the resilience beyond every safety limit, routing power from life support to weapons and engines. The ship groaned under the stress, but her ancient structure held together through sheer determination and superior engineering. Pilot Nam Junho coordinated the movement of 43 ships as if they were a single organism. His commands flowed through the communication channels, turning chaos into deadly precision. Dr. Song worked frantically in the medical bay as wounded crew members from damaged civilian ships were brought aboard. She saved lives that would have been lost while keeping the Resilience's crew fighting at peak efficiency. One by one, the Vorthan ships fell to the impossible tactics of the volunteer fleet. A converted mining ship disabled a destroyer by ramming its engine section. 3 freighters working together overwhelmed a cruiser with concentrated fire from improvised weapons. The remaining Vorthan dreadnought, seeing its escorts destroyed or damaged, made a desperate charge toward the mining platforms where thousands of civilians were still waiting for evacuation. Corvin intended to destroy them out of pure spite. All ships protect the civilians, Minho ordered. But the dreadnought was too fast and too heavily armed. None of the volunteer ships could stop it in time. Chief Jisoo, reroute all remaining. Power to the engines, Minho commanded. Mr. Junho, intercept course on the dreadnought. Sir, at our current damage level, a collision will destroy us, Jisoo warned. I know, Minho replied calmly. Do it anyway. The Resilience accelerated toward the enemy dreadnought like a missile aimed at the heart of evil. Her engines screamed, with power as every remaining energy cell was drained to push her beyond her design limits. At the last moment, as collision seemed inevitable, the Vorthan ship tried to turn away. But it was too late. The ancient human destroyer struck the enemy vessel amidships with the force of a falling star. Both ships should have been destroyed instantly. Instead, something remarkable happened. The Resilience's heavy construction and 2 centuries of battle damage had made her hull as hard as compressed diamond. She punched through the dreadnought's armor like it was paper and emerged from the other side, battered but intact. The Vorthan flagship broke apart in a massive explosion that lit up the entire system. War leader Corvin and his crew died never, understanding how an obsolete human ship had defeated the pride of their fleet. The remaining enemy vessels, seeing their flagship destroyed and their formation shattered, retreated in disorder. The impossible had happened. A single ancient warship and a fleet of civilian volunteers had defeated a modern military force through courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to abandon innocent people. Sir, the evacuation is complete, Nari reported. All civilian transports have jumped to safety. Captain Minho looked around the bridge at his crew. They were wounded, exhausted, and their ship was barely holding together. But they were alive. And 50,000 innocent people were safe because they had chosen to stand and fight. Well done, everyone, he said simply. In the days that followed, word of the Battle of Omega Junction spread throughout the galaxy. The story of the written-off ship that destroyed an armada became legend. The Galactic Council was forced to reconsider their assessment of human military capabilities. The Resilience was rebuilt and upgraded, becoming the flagship of a new human fleet doctrine based on adaptability and innovation rather than standardized technology. Captain Minho and his crew became heroes, but more importantly, they had proven that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest advantage of all. Years later, when young officers asked how an ancient ship had defeated modern warships, the answer was always the same. The Resilience had not won because she was better armed or faster or more advanced than her enemies. She had won because her crew remembered something the galaxy had forgotten. Sometimes the most powerful weapon in the universe is the simple refusal to give up when everything depends on your courage. The ship that was written off had become a symbol of human determination.